Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 23rd, 2025. Well, my goodness, we have a market that is tremendously resilient. Yesterday, after gapping lower, showing a little bit of bearish activity, the bulls started fighting back, and then we had a big deal announced between $100 billion between OpenAI and NVIDIA, and the market turned around and went up. We had new record highs in the Diamond SPY and QQQ, IWM trailing just slightly behind. What was interesting about that, it was really very centric. It was just the brute force of the mega tech stocks that made that happen. We had the participation rate of the market continuing to fall yesterday. So a very interesting circumstance here in the market, and we'll see if that can continue today, because we've got some tech reports coming after the bell today. So first off, what happened overnight? Well, if we take a look at Asian markets were a little bit mixed. Now, I don't normally cover much of Taiwan, but Taiwan hit new record highs last night. So we're continuing to hit record highs in places all around the world, despite tariffs, despite all of the things that analysts say it's not possible. Well, it seems to be pretty possible here at the moment. If we take a look at Australia last night, Australia finished up 35 points, or 0.40%. Hong Kong finished lower by 185.02, or 0.770% lower. South Korea was up 12.54, or 0.51% higher. We saw the Nikkei zooming once again, up 447.85, or 0.99%, as it continues to make records over there. We've got India pushing lower last night, down 32.85, or 0.13%, and Shanghai moving lower by $6.74, or 0.18%. If we take a look at those European markets here this morning, green across the board, pushing higher. The DAX is up 57.62, or 0.24% this morning. FTSE is higher by 15.62, or 0.17%, and the CAC is up 53.39, or 0.68% this morning. Now, if we look at U.S. futures, maybe just a little bit more hesitation after the big move yesterday, but not a lot. Right now, we've got the Dow futures up 28 points even. S&P 500 futures are coming in down 4 points at the moment, and the NASDAQ futures down $5.25 here at the moment. So pretty modest in those gains and losses in U.S. markets here this morning. If we take a look at our bonds here this morning, our bonds trying to pull back just a tiny little bit here this morning. We've got the 2-year bonds. They just kept moving to the upside yesterday. 2-year bonds coming in at 3.59% this morning. 10-year bonds at 4.13%. And those 30-year bonds coming in at 4.75% here this morning. So just a tiny little pullback in the bonds here this morning. If we take a look at how that's affecting our dollar is trying to move up just a little tiny bit. At the moment, the dollar is up 0.2 cents. So trying to move back up after failing to continue this rally yesterday, running into resistance and unable to push through. As a result here this morning, my goodness, this is another thing that is just really, really astounding. If we take a look at precious metals, gold continuing to just stretch hard here in the market. Gold and silver, the ultimate safety play. And we're just flying here in these markets. Right now, the gold futures are up $43.30 an ounce, $3,818.30 an ounce here this morning. Remarkable as that continues to stretch. Now, I've got to think this has got to pull back here eventually. But right now, it is all in all the time here on precious metals. If we take a look at silver this morning, also continuing to race to the upside, stretching out here right now, silver is up $44.59 an ounce here this morning, trying to push on higher here. And gold is at new record highs. Silver has a way to go. We're going to have to push up through here in SLV to break that high over here in 2011, and then on to see if we can break higher to the all-time highs here in silver also in early 2011. So kind of keep an eye on that. But so far, it's all bulls here pushing to the upside there in silver. If we take a look at copper this morning, we've got copper pushing, honestly, copper futures themselves down 0.5 cents, but we're continuing to see the copper miners and anything in the gold and silver miners, something to look at. They are just running hot. COPX trying to break out here. We've got FCX still in that bullish pattern that could set up here to the upside on those copper miners. If we take a look at platinum is continuing to race higher here this morning. It pushed back yesterday and then quickly started to resume back to the upside, breaking through this recent high temporarily. We'll see if it's able to hold that today. But right now, platinum futures up $26.10 an ounce. Palladium also pushing higher. This was quite a reversal in here, pushing back up. Palladium up $25.70 an ounce this morning. So keep an eye on that. If we take a look at cryptos had a pretty darn rough day yesterday, but they're trying to bounce up here just a tiny bit here this morning. Bitcoin, I say tiny bit, it's $573 a coin, 0.51%, but after yesterday's over 3,000 point fall, that a tiny little bounce back up at the moment. Ether is also trying to move higher, up 1.02% after its whopper of a fall yesterday, but up $43 a coin here today. And Solana pushing higher by just 82 cents after a over 7% fall yesterday in that, or 0.37%. So trying to recover a little bit. Right now, I'm seeing green across the board in those cryptos as the dollar tries to rally just a tiny bit here this morning. Right now, the dollar is up 2 cents. Trying to move a little bit higher here. So keep an eye on those. So what else we got to look at but oil? Let's take a look at oil. Oil was pushing back yesterday, pushing down just a little bit, but it did bounce back up this morning. We're getting a nice little bullish push there in oil. We've got oil futures this morning up 70 cents a barrel at $62.97 a barrel. We'll want to be keeping an eye on that. We've got Brent crude. Brent is up at 67.07 a barrel here this morning, and natural gas is trying to turn around after a pretty hard fall yesterday and trying to hold on to this little price support. Obviously, the upside trend that had started fell all apart here in natural gas. So some questions here on that for sure. Let's take a look. Well, actually, I think that's all I want to cover here first thing this morning. So how about we settle in, let's buckle up, and let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts. Try to shake off that bias and really focus in on what we've got going on here in these charts. I got to tell you, there's no way you can look at the diamonds here without seeing bullishness and tremendous bullishness. New record highs yesterday, blue sky above, and the resiliency here of the megatech giants is really astounding. We continue to stretch in this condition that is pretty remarkable as breadth continues to fall. So watch that carefully. Every reason to believe that could push on through to new highs here today. And so watch that closely. If the bears were to have anything to say, push back, well, we got a little support right in there that could easily hold us back here to test that upside trend. Probably wouldn't get into any kind of concern in the market unless we had some kind of a full-on reversal in here of yesterday's candle, and that would be breaking back down below the low of that candle. That might raise some concerns. Where the real worry would come in, I think, is if we drop below that area price support. But there's nothing in the chart that suggests that here at the moment. If we take a look at the SPY, by the way, this is really reminiscent of late 1999, where the market had the zoomies. Now, one of the things that I will bring up here is we're starting to see a little bit more in the VIX, a little bit of fear in the VIX, and that was another thing that accompanied the 1999 tech rally bubble, is that we were seeing the market continue to race up as we saw the VIX showing fear and some concern because of the stretch here. We're starting to see a little hint of that right now. So just watch this carefully. Volatility could really raise its head pretty quickly here in the market. But that being said, we've got the SPY continuing to make new record highs. Every reason to believe anything in here could continue to stretch us on higher, even when these big tech companies spend billions and billions of dollars. Doesn't hurt their stock, it only pushes the stock higher. So kind of interesting situation here. But pushing up here certainly looks like a possibility in the SPY, and blue sky highs above that. If the bears were to have anything to say, pretty much like I said on the diamonds, we would probably need a full-on reversal here to break us back down below this little area of support to really get things going. If we just pull back into here, I don't see any problem with that, and we could reverse that in, about half a breath. If we were to break on down below this area of price support in here, that would raise some concern, but probably not get any major fear going unless we broke the tail of that reversal candle right there. So right now, bulls are in control. Nothing to worry about there. Stay with the upside trend, but have a plan to protect yourself. Because I do think when a reversal comes, it's going to move just pretty darn quickly. Now, if we take a look at the QQQ, look at us continuing to run this upside trend. No fear here in the Qs, continuing to stretch higher. Doesn't seem to matter how much these tech giants spend. And doesn't matter. We keep pushing their stocks higher. So QQQ, new record highs. Every reason to believe that we're going to continue this blue sky run here to new record highs here this morning. If the bears, once again, had anything to say, nothing short of a full-on reversal, I think, is going to raise any concern in here. If we were to reverse, break back down below that little area right there, might raise a little bit of worry, but as long as we hold on to trended here, I don't see any major conflict. We could easily bounce right back up off of there. I think we would have to break this all the way back down through here to really start raising some concern, and I honestly believe we would have to take out the tail of that reversal candle right there to really bring on some pressure here in the market. And there's just no clues here in the chart that suggest that at the moment. Now IWM fell just a little bit short of new record highs yesterday, but just a tiny bit short of that, without the benefit of the big tech giants, and they were the majority of the lift in the market yesterday, particularly NVIDIA, QQQ, and Tesla. They did almost all of the work here yesterday in the push back up. So, NVIDIA, Apple, and Tesla. If we take a look here, boy, wouldn't be that much of a push here that we could pop that resistance right there and be at new record highs here in IWM pretty easily. Popping up through here, we'd have a new record high print, and if we closed up there, obviously blue sky above in IWM. Now, if the bears were to come back in and have anything to say, I think we're probably going to have to push back all the way back into here to raise any major concern, but we probably wouldn't see any major worries still holding on to that trend unless we were to break all the way back down, probably through this area of price support. That's where some real fear would come into the market. Now, I'm showing you these big potential moves to the downside, and the reason is because I do believe they're possible. And I think everyone should be prepared for those big potential moves to the downside and that reversal in here as we continue to see our VIX moving up as the market moves up, showing that little bit of fear coming in here. And again, these are some lessons of years and years and years of trading when we get a little bit over exuberant. Now, remember, overexuberance can last a whole lot longer than you can survive trying to fight that direction. So I'm not suggesting anybody get short or fight that direction. What I'm saying is stay with the trend, stay with that trend, but be prepared. Be prepared if we suddenly shift, because that's probably how it will occur. We'll get a sudden shift in reversal here in the market. When that comes, I have no idea. So all of my trades right now are long, and I'm just reaping the benefits of just holding those trades as we continue to stretch here to the upside. So not bearish here, but worried about a potential break here eventually. Our T2122 indicator, we were moving down yesterday, and then we turned just slightly here on T2122 to come in basically flat. So we're really showing you in here the power of the big tech giants. They were able to lift us back up, but not enough necessarily to get the majority of the stocks moving higher yesterday. So looking here at T2122, finishing the day pretty close to flat, just a little tiny bit higher on the day. And you can see we're below 50% here in T2122. So if the bulls have additional inspiration here today, we certainly have room for them to move in here in T2122. We've eased that super overbought pressure here in the market. So they've got room here to push to the upside if we can get some good numbers or something to inspire. If the bears have anything to say, well, you want to recognize we've got about an equal opportunity for them to push this on down. So keep an eye on that. And again, we want to be watching for those potential whipsaws when our breadth is so weak. We'll look at that in just a second. Our T2108 percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average moved slightly lower, declining yesterday, but not so much as to be a major worry. As you can see, big tech did a good job of getting things to lift back up. We're still holding above the 50% area here, a good area of price support there in T2108. So I don't think we're going to raise any major worries here unless we were to get these stocks, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day failing back below 50% of the stock market. That might raise a little concern here in the market, but you will keep in mind that we've got some good support in here in this range between 45 and 40% here on that. If the bulls can continue to push to the upside, well, we know we've got to get this pushed back up through here to really get something going here in the market on T2108. T2107 also a little bit lighter yesterday, but no major damage here at all. You can see here in T2107 held above 50%. No worries or concerns there. It was just slightly lighter here on T2107. We've got good price support in here around 50%, so no particular worries. And if the bulls can get something going, we need to start popping this area up here, getting back up through that 55% area in the chart on T2107. The major concern is the massive divergence that we see in T2101. Notice how weak this is. We haven't seen it this week in a very, very long time, as the participation in the market continuing to fall. Megatech giants continuing to push us through to new record highs, but the market participation is very weak here. And oftentimes when we see this, it's not every time, but oftentimes when we see breadth falling this hard, it's the reversal, and that reversal tends to be on the bearish side the majority of the time if we really get that rip here to the upside. But I have seen this where we had participation rate falling hard. For example, in the COVID shutdown, we saw participation drop like a rock, and then all of a sudden the government started printing tons of money, and we went straight back up here in T2101. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get the Fed printing money here in this situation, so we're going to want to watch this pretty closely, and it's one of the reasons why I think a big sharp break in the market is possible at any time. So watch carefully and have a plan to protect yourself, but make sure you are continuing to stay with this relentless upside market and enjoying this run to the upside. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And unfortunately, we just don't have a lot going on in here. I understand Jerome Powell is going to be speaking here. They've added him to the calendar here around noon Eastern time, 12:30 Eastern time. So watch that carefully. We've got current account numbers that will be out this morning. They're looking for a negative 302 billion. That's a sharp improvement of the negative 450 billion that we've seen in there. We've got Bauman speaking this morning. We've got a PMI composite flash. They're not giving us a consensus on the composite number, but they're suggesting manufacturing declines to 52 from a 53.3 last time, and services decline to 53.5 to 55.4. One of the things that we have seen in here, as long as AI is doing good, this is something we almost completely ignore. So a little pullback in here in this, as long as we stay above 50, I don't see that having a major impact on the market today. If they drop below 50, I could see a little bit of bear activity coming in. We've got Bostic speaking. We've got a Richmond Fed manufacturing number, which we'll probably just not care about at all. But consensus is suggesting that goes to a negative 10 from a 0.7. It would have to be a pretty substantial miss in here, I think, on Richmond Fed to really even draw much of attention to it here today. We've got some bond announcements. We've got a 6-week auction in here. Jerome Powell speaking, of course, and then a 2-year note auction, and then we're going to be looking at that money supply here as well. Looking into Wednesday as you're preparing for the day ahead, we've got mortgage applications, new home sales, petroleum status will be in there. Survey of business uncertainty. We're going to get some bond auctions in here. Daily will be speaking. It's going to be Thursday and Friday. That could be the really big movers of the day on those economic numbers. So pay attention to that. On the earnings calendar here today, well, we've got just a little bit going on here in earnings with AutoZone. AZO reporting this morning. We'll want to be keeping an eye on that. Right now, that's showing a little bit of bearishness here, pulling to the downside and breaking lower. So watch that carefully here in AutoZone. But what we've seen here lately, any kind of sell-off here in the market just almost immediately gets bought right back up and stretches back higher. So I don't know that this pullback is really going to hurt us in the market here on AutoZone. That's the only notable for this morning. Now this afternoon we have a big tech, a Micron, that has zoomed here recently to the upside. So up here retesting and breaking through all-time highs here in Micron. That will be reporting this afternoon. So keep an eye on that. We will also hear from AIR this afternoon, MLKN, and WOR. Those are your notables for this afternoon. So a few things that we'll want to be paying close attention to, and particularly with the sensitivity to tech. Watch MU. If we take a look at what we have going on, let's see, we've got those things done. So what do we have going on for stock setting up today? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please click that subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leaving a brief comment, that helps the channel a lot. Thank you to everyone who does do that. I do truly, truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up for today. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very careful in this market and be prepared for just about anything. Now, we have had some oil making some moves here and some good bullish patterns in those oil producers. Take a look at APA. I mentioned this one yesterday. Ended up finding those buyers in here, pushing back up a little piercing candle. Nice little hold of support and trend. Watch that carefully if those bulls can get going here on the producer side. APA looking pretty good. We've got PBR. PBR's trying to come up. Unfortunately, it's still capped by this big long downtrend here in the chart, but holding these higher lows. So I would watch that carefully. Again, another piercing candle. We would just need a little bit of bullish push to break us through that resistance. I keep an eye on some of those in the market. There are a few in that oil sector looking really good. One of my favorite right now is in the refining area of Valero. What a beautiful pattern in there on Valero. Nice little resting. I mentioned this yesterday, pushing on through. I would look for this to potentially stretch on higher here in Valero. Also, you might want to take a look at rig. Rig is oil drilling, and we can see that rig is holding in a nice bullish pattern here, trying to get a little bit of bullish activity going in there. Keep in mind I have a bias on this one. I am holding this, but watch that carefully. Got a beautiful product profit in that trade so far, and that opportunity that it may continue to extend with the bullishness of the market here today. So watch that carefully. Boy, you got to continue to look at these big banks. My goodness. Goldman continuing to tear it up to the upside. JP Morgan really strong. You can take a look at Morgan Stanley. That continues to run in this upside trend. Big banks continuing to look really, really good. If you look at our regional banks, a little bit of struggle in there, but things like Zion still trying to hold in there. It pulled back a little bit yesterday, still trying to hold some support. So keep an eye on some of those guys. They have some potential. I would also keep an eye on a little bit in steel. If we continue to see precious metals move up, keep an eye on steel. I mentioned Cleveland Cliffs here. I've been talking about it last few days. Just kind of sneaking its way up here along that trend line. Watch that carefully. That could easily push on through up there. We've got Steel Dynamics had a nice move yesterday, popping up. You can see it is pulling back here in the pre-market this morning. But if we can hold on to this price support, that'd be a pretty good breakout in there. Keep an eye on STLD. When you take a look at Nucor, there's nothing in here, good on Nucor. So we have a little bit of mix in here. That just means we've got to be really picky about the charts that we look at and take here in the market. So keep an eye on those. Boy, when we take a look at things like Ulta Beauty continuing to hang in here, you can take a look at Elf Beauty. That's also setting up nicely here in the chart, looking pretty good. SWKS continues to show lots of bullishness with a big stretch yesterday. I wouldn't chase this, but after breaking through this resistance in here, any rest or pullback where we might come back into a trending area here in the chart, I would look for that next opportunity into those stocks. Watch that closely. Of course, with Apple making its big move yesterday, moved down on their announcement of the iPhone, but apparently some sales picking up just a little bit as they come online with selling. And so analysts jumped on board and really pumped it back to the upside. So watch that carefully. We're going to approach this all-time high here in Apple again, so watch that carefully as we continue to stretch. Again, I wouldn't chase that. I would wait for a little rest or pullback. Even AMD tried to get something going yesterday, still banging its head against this resistance in the chart. You'll notice we have a little W bottom formation in here, or double bottom formation. If we can pop that resistance, then that's something to be paying attention to here on AMD. Could move to the upside. And of course, the big move in NVIDIA yesterday, breaking the downtrend in one fell swoop. Now, remember, how did they break this? They lowered their balance sheet by $100 billion. So when a company spins and spins and spins, this is the kind of market that the company is worth less when they spend that much money, but it doesn't matter right now to anyone. Anything that NVIDIA does seems to inspire that willingness to just buy it with both hands. So watch that carefully here. We are close to a situation where we can break to new all-time highs here in NVIDIA, pushing right on through that resistance area in the chart in one fell swoop. So watch that close. If it does happen to rest, pull back and rest in here, that would help this pattern set up in a bullish move that would have much less risk. So just give that some time. Wait in there to see how that goes. So watch that carefully. Once again, guys, I want to continue to say stay with the upside trend, but be really, really careful with chasing stocks to the upside. It can be very dangerous. And I'm going to say that even on the stuff that I hold, like BTU, just continuing to tear it up right now. My BTU trade is up, and by the way, this is a stock trade. It's up 56.63%. So continuing to race in there on these stocks. There's some really good profits that we've had right now, but I still wouldn't recommend anyone chase these moves to the upside. Be very careful of racing into stocks that are already very extended. Let them rest, let them pull back, and then decide if your entry is there for lower risk entries. Be careful getting caught up in the fear of missing out and chasing overstretched stocks to the upside. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. I want to wish you great profits. Be careful. Try not to chase. Try not to overtrade in a market like this, and be ever so watchful for the potential of that whipsaw or that complete reversal that could come very quickly in the market because of that low breadth reading that we have right now. But with that, y'all be safe. See you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. And thank you so much for the kind support that you showed to this channel. I really, really appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Right away's my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.